Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And yes, as you know, we give you sports information from all across the globe. You guys can surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is at the rate of Indus News Sports. That works both for Twitter and for Instagram. But anyways, we'll go to the headlines first. And yes, from the world of cricket, Fawad Alam's century, Shaheen's strike gave Pakistan hope of levelling rain-affected second test against West Indies. And yes, from the world of golf, talking about John Ram, Cameron Smith tied for the lead in Northern Trust, have an extra day to prepare for the final round. And yes, from the world of football, Chelsea beats Arsenal 2-0 in English Premier League on Sunday. And yes, from the world of athletics, Olympic champion Elaine Thompson manages to run second fastest woman 100 meter of all time. And yes, those were the headlines, and focusing more on the fact, yes, we talk about Pakistan versus West Indies. We also know that, Pakistan lost their first test match against them, but what an innings. And specifically when we talk about Pakistan, how they truly performed, we talk about Fawad Alam making that amazing 124. Not only that, Babar Azam ended up scoring 75 and then declaring the innings. But surely is interesting because then Shaheen Shah Afridi managed to get the initial 2 wickets. And I think the match will further improve more, and I think it would be very interesting to see the in-depth analysis. But to discuss more about this, we have with us Adam Bell all the way from New Zealand. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Alamdar.
Great. So Adam, would want to talk about obviously when we talk about the first test, of course, Pakistan managed to, not win it, but they did struggle. But right now, we saw this amazing innings, specifically when we talk about Fawad Alam to begin with. And why? Because realistically, if you look back into Fawad Alam's, everyone has this question mark with regards to where was Fawad Alam for the past 11 years. We'll surely get there. But for now, I just want you to give your in-depth analysis in terms of the match itself.
Yeah, look, so far it's been a really interesting test match. Obviously, day 2 was washed out due to rain, and yesterday there was some issues with an area of the ground, and they had to suspend play, which was a real shame, which means at this stage, there's 2 days left, but I still think Pakistan have a really good opportunity to win this test match. I thought they batted superbly well. At one stage, they were 2 for 3 before Babar Azam and Fawad Alam put on that huge partnership. And then from there, it was just some great cameos down the order. Fahim Ashraf, again, is contributing in all facets of the game. Scored, a vital 20 runs. Rizwan as well, and then Hassan Ali down the order contributed as well. So I think Pakistan are in a really strong position at the moment, especially after that spell by Shaheen Shah Afridi at the end of the day. I think if Pakistan can go into day 4 and get West Indies out for a mega title and get a lead of 100 runs plus, I think they can get into bat in the second innings and try to force a result. So I think there's so much time still left in this test match for a result, even though weather has played a part in this match so far.
Right. And if we look at how Pakistan lost the first test, it was surely an interesting test as well, because it was at the very last moment. Things were pretty tricky back then, but I think now they have to make the comeback. And I think the comeback is currently, as we all can see it right now, is happening. And I think in the long run, I think it would definitely be beneficial, not only for the team itself, but definitely for the morale of the upcoming World Cup T20, which is obviously scheduled for October.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of the key players in this test match will be part of the T20 squad later on in the year. Rizwan, Babar Azam, Hassan Ali, Shaheen Shah Afridi. So obviously being part of a winning combination, you have that confidence. Doesn't matter what form of the game you're playing. I think in terms of the Pakistan side, in terms of that first test match, look, they could have easily won that match. Look, they were defending a total of 150 odd runs, and for them to nearly pull off an improbable victory was incredible. And some really good bowling performances by, again, Shaheen Shah Afridi and Hassan Ali in the first test match.
Right.
When Pakistan got the 9th wicket with West Indies netting 14 runs, I thought that they had it in the bag before Kemar Roach showed his experience in that match and got them over the line. But look, that was a really good test match. I thought Pakistan didn't quite get enough runs in their first innings. Again, we saw Fawad Alam bat well in the first innings of the first test, but it was the lower order that didn't hang around with them. They didn't contribute much in both the first and the second innings for Pakistan, and I think that was a key difference. If you look at the actual teams in that first test match, is that the lower order for Pakistan, they didn't contribute as much as what the West Indies did, and in particular in that first test match with Fawad Alam batting well. No one supported him. So I don't think Pakistan quite got enough in their first innings with the bat. However, they were able to hang in there with the ball and nearly won an improbable test match in that first match. So, I think there were a lot of positives out of that match that they took into this match. And I mentioned Shaheen Sharafredi and, what impact he has had on the test match. Two incredible wickets. I mean, that delivery that he bowled to Braithwaite was shades of Wasim Akram in his prime. And we've got to remember this guy's 21 years of age and bowling so well in foreign conditions, and already averaging under 30 with the ball, and seems like every game he's playing for Pakistan he's developing further. So I think Pakistan right now they've got a gem in Shaheen Sharafredi, someone that I think will go down as one of Pakistan's greats, if not one of the world Test cricket greats.
Right. I would also your in-depth analysis with regards to when you talk about Fawad Alam. Yes, there's so many question marks out there. A lot of people are pinpointing the selectors. Where was he for 11 years? For someone like him, now he's proving his worth and being an integral part of the team. But obviously, a lot of, I literally saw him trending over the social media, and, it was out of surprise because, he has definitely proven himself as one of the key players of the team. But then we still have the question mark, who selected or who were the selectors back then who did not bring him on board? And I think people are surely debating on that, if I'm not wrong right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible that he hasn't played more test matches. He's only played, I think, 12 before the second test. And we look at his career record in first-class cricket. He's averaging, at one point, like late 50s, and he's got one of the highest first-class averages of any active cricketer playing first-class cricket at the moment. Right. So it was incredible that he was left out of the side for so long, especially a few years back when Pakistan were really struggling with their batting lineup. It's hard to believe that any country would leave out a guy of his class and his ability. And it's great to see him really take to Test cricket after a spell out. He got off to a great start in his career. He got 100 early on, and then for whatever reason, and I guess we'll never know behind the scenes of what the politics were with him not making the side. But it's hard to believe that he didn't make the side, and it's just great to see him at 36 years of age, right, batting so well. And it's a great comeback story, and I think it's one of those stories that really inspires cricketers. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you keep putting the runs on the board and you keep putting those performances, there's always a chance. The interesting thing in terms of Fawad Alam as well, and we go back to the Pakistan side of 4, 5, 6 years ago under Misbah-ul-Haq. They were the #1 ranked Test team in the world, and they did have a stacked batting lineup at that point of himself, Yunus Khan, Asad Shafiq, Azhar Ali was in there as well, and I can see how fitting him in at that point would have been might have been difficult, but after those main guys retired, surely there was a spot for him in there, and it's just great to see. And I really hope that he keeps batting on and playing close to 40, even beyond, because his story is just so inspirational. I think every cricketer or cricket fan around the world looks at him and really wants him to succeed. And I know, obviously I'm from New Zealand, and I followed his career before he made his comeback, and on that tour to New Zealand, I was really hoping he was going to do well. I mean, I think it's always great seeing someone who deserves their chance and who's been putting performances on the board, given an opportunity, and then actually making it count.
Right, and I think at the end of it all, it comes down to teamwork, and I think he's doing what he's supposed to do, and he's doing it at the bestest of form. But talking about, obviously, I would also want your update with regards to, obviously, New Zealand is planning to come to Pakistan. So how do you see that? And obviously, you can definitely give us more on the in-depth analysis with regards to that. So how do you see their visit to Pakistan literally after almost 18 years? And I think it's also another big step in terms of the country.
Absolutely. As a New Zealand fan, I'm excited to see the New Zealand side tour Pakistan. It's just been too long. I think the last time New Zealand were playing Pakistan, Shoaib Akhtar bought a 160k delivery to Craig McMillan, and that's how long ago it was. It's going to be an interesting tour. I think it's a shame that a lot of New Zealand's top players won't be playing. A lot of those guys will be playing in the IPL, unfortunately, and will miss the tour. But New Zealand will send a pretty decent side. A lot of young rookies are in that side. Ravindra is a young opening batsman for Wellington who's in the side. Another fast bowler called Ben Sears, who apparently can bowl close to 150, is in the side as well. So they've gone in with a lot of rookie or less experienced players in this New Zealand side for the tour. So I would expect Pakistan to win that series pretty comfortably if they do play their top players against this side. So I think from a fan perspective, it's a shame that New Zealand won't be playing their full strength sides on this tour, because I think it would have been a great opportunity, for the New Zealand's top players to play a good opposition or a very strong opposition at home before the T20 World Cup. And also for the fans in Pakistan to see the best players. I feel a little bit let down that the IPL will take precedence over this tour. It doesn't really sit well with me. It's an international tour, and I think it should be respected that way.
Right. I think you definitely do have a solid point, because in terms of if Pakistan manages to win or maybe gets there, because we still have that upcoming T20 World Cup. And I think when it comes to representing the country, I think that's probably more on the positive side. And I totally agree to what you're trying to say here. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it doesn't really do neither team like an advantage.
Right.
You know, if Pakistan win the series well, I mean, there's always the questions about the opposition. And then from our New Zealand's perspective, sure, we'll be giving a lot of younger players a go, but it would have been nice to see, you know, is it a full-strength New Zealand side against a full-strength Pakistan side in Pakistan as well, because you know, we haven't toured there New Zealand hasn't toured there since 2003, so it would have been a good opportunity to see, and for the fans of Pakistan to see New Zealand's top players playing.
But anyways, Adam, at least you know the ice is being broken right now, so that's the biggest plus, that you know at least the tour, you know, they are coming to Pakistan, which is also one of the major successes. But anyways, thank you very much for being a part of the show and discussing the world of cricket with us.
Thanks for having me, Alamdar. Much appreciated.
So that's Adam Bell, and obviously he gave us in-depth analysis not only about Pakistan versus West Indies, the second test, but also talked about the upcoming tour of New Zealand to Pakistan, which is surely another big, you know, plus point in terms of getting someone from abroad. And I think they're coming here after 18 years, which is definitely a big success. Anyways, guys, we'll take a quick break. Once we get back from the break, there is more coming in from the world of sports. See you guys after the break. And yes, welcome back from the break. And yes, before the break, we were discussing the world of cricket, but not to forget, we give information about sports from all across the globe. So talking about golf, yes, we talk about the Northern Trust. Interestingly, Jon Rahm and Cameron Smith actually tied for it, and Smith carded, of course, a record 11 under 60 par to join Jon Rahm. It has been an interesting journey, but yes, we all know that, you know, hurricane came over, and even right now, it's still at the tricky state for the fact that, you know, still there's a big question mark. How will it continue? But we would surely give you the in-depth analysis from the world of golf, and we have with us Duncan Carey. Duncan, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to be with you.
Great. So Duncan would want to, obviously Jon Rahm himself is definitely following his legacy in terms of where he is, but then Cameron Smith also played his part truly well. So we'll start from there, and further you can give us more in-depth analysis about, you know, the entire Northern Trust.
Yeah, so the Northern Trust is the first of the PGA Tour playoffs. The regular season ended last week at the Wyndham, and the top 125 players go through to this week, and you know, they're playing for big money and the opportunity to move on to next week. So the top 70 this week at the end of play will go through to next week, And then the top 30 from next week go through to play for the big prize of $15 million and the champion golfer East Lake in 2 weeks' time. But this week, Northern Trust being played in New Jersey, just outside of New York, with that wonderful Manhattan backdrop. And yes, John Rahm and Cameron Smith both tied for the lead at 16 under. They finished up on Saturday evening, but have had a long wait to get back on the golf course with the hurricane coming in, and hopefully play will resume in a few hours' time to see whether Cameron or John Rahm go on to win the tournament, or whether someone a few shots back can make a move and head to the top of the leaderboard.
Right. Let's hope, someone does make a move. But, in terms of how it is, and, in terms of all the news that I also saw, it's so far the forecast still suggests that, there will still probably be stronger winds. And not only that, they have also decided not to have spectators on board to come and see the tournament if it continues.
Yes, I think they've made the decision. I think once play finished on Saturday, they were taking down a lot of the infrastructure, grandstands and hospitality tents to save them being wiped out by the hurricane. And you're right, no fans on course today. I think the PGA Tour have announced that they will get this done tomorrow if they can't get it done today. So I think that might be the first time a PGA Tour event has been pushed back to even a Tuesday finish. But they seem determined to protect the integrity of the competition and get it done one way or another. And that might mean pushing next week's event back a day or two, or trying to cram some more holes in on one day. But they seem determined to get it finished, and hopefully the weather will let up and allow them to get back out there.
Right. I would also want your in-depth analysis of when we talk about big names, when we talk about obviously Jordan Spieth as well. So what's your take with regards to his performance so far?
Yeah, Jordan Spieth, he's 7 under par. Unlikely to be featuring when it comes to it at the end of play today or tomorrow, but he's had a great resurgence this year, and a good finish this week will push him, up that FedEx Cup points ranking, so he could be in with a shout, in a couple of weeks' time to take the overall prize. So he's in a good position and playing well.
So in the current ranking, of course, we've seen the leaderboard as well. What's your take? Who do you think still has an opportunity to go get that victory? Besides, obviously, Cameron Smith and John Rahm, obviously, they've tied. But I'm sure in terms of your analysis, you may be having someone in your mind that you think could probably make that break.
Yeah, I think there's a few good players just behind them. Justin Thomas is only 2 shots back, and Justin Thomas, former world #1 major champion.
Right.
He's got all the skills and ability to push those guys. Eric Van Rooyen's only 1 shot back. He won a couple of weeks ago on the PGA Tour and is in great form.
Right.
And you also have Shane Lowry, Irishman Shane Lowry, Open champion a couple of years ago, who isn't a stranger to playing in windy, wet conditions and excels in those conditions. So he's only a few shots back, so could make a move.
Right. I would also want your analysis with regards to, for instance, if the hurricane situation is sorted, who does it favor in terms of golfers? Is it favorable for the golfers to play post-hurricane or not?
Difficult to say. I think I can't imagine the PGA Tour would send them out there if the weather was extremely windy or bad in any case. So I imagine once they get back out on the course, it will be conditions similar to where they've been playing the last few days, albeit the course might be softer and a bit wetter. But with some lingering weather around, someone like Shane Lowry, who's used to playing in those conditions, Cameron Smith, who grew up in Australia, where there's no shortage of wind on the coast there. So, those guys all be within a shout. And John Rahm, obviously, he can play well in any conditions, anywhere in the world. So that's why he's #1 golfer in the world. So I don't think the weather in terms of the hurricane will be a factor. Let's just see who's coped with the sitting around and waiting is probably more of a factor.
Right. I would also want to, if we look back into the legacy on Rahm lately, I think he's surely proven himself to be one of the finest players lately. I think he went through COVID-19 situation, he made a comeback, and right now he's there. If we remember one of the memorials, he was there, but he got COVID and he had to leave, and then he won one of the majors. So I think he's surely spot on in terms of his dedication towards golf these days.
Yeah, he's one of the only golfers really where he has no weakness. He's good at all parts of the game. He's world #1. You mentioned he had that issue at the Memorial with the COVID where he had a 6-shot lead and unfortunately wasn't allowed to play the final round. goes on a couple of weeks later to win the US Open, is at the top of his game, again gets tested positive for COVID, so can't compete in the Olympics where he would have been the favourite for the gold medal. But once again, that setback, he's come back out again and is leading the tournament the following couple of weeks. So I think as well as his game on the course, he's got tremendous resilience to come back and win and lead tournaments after some setbacks.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Duncan, for being a part of the show and discussing the world of golf with us.
Thank you.
So that was pretty much the in-depth analysis from the world of golf. And not to forget, yes, when we talk about Jon Rahm, if we look back into his legacy, how he managed to be where he is right now. And yes, he did struggle a lot, but he made sure that, he makes his mark. And right now, he's definitely on the top. And I think this golf tournament would surely have a lot of edge for Jon Rahm. Anyways, guys, this was from the world of golf. I'll quickly jump over to the world of football. Yes. Talking about Chelsea. Chelsea manages to beat Arsenal 2-0 in the English Premier League on Sunday, which is super interesting because Lukaku obviously joined the club and managed to score the first goal of his career for the club. It is surely going to be interesting in the long run. Not to forget that James actually doubled Chelsea's lead. So if we look back into Chelsea's overall performance, obviously we know where they stand. But right now, as we know that the tournament has started, so it's surely going to be interesting if we look into the standings. Probably in the long run, maybe after a few weeks, we'll probably have a better idea. But all the teams are lined up and trying their level best to prove their best. So this was from the world of football. I'll quickly give an in-depth analysis about the world of athletics. Yes, talking about Elaine Thompson, she ran the second fastest. Yes, she managed to be the second fastest woman of the 100 meters. She ran at the Eugene Diamond League competition. And I think being the second would surely give her more edge in terms of, and we'd surely want her to break more of the records in terms of 100 meters. And she defended her 100 meter and 200 meter Olympic title at the Tokyo Olympics 2020. Elaine ran a world lead time of 10.54 seconds. Well, this surely is interesting when we talk about athleticism, and I think she is surely spot on in terms of her performance. But anyways, guys, this was pretty much it from the sports. If you guys want to reach out to us, you can on our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. That works both for Twitter and for Instagram. Till then, take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.